So yeah, welcome to story time from the Astronomical Society of the Pacific. Really happy to have you all here today. And I showed you earlier, here's our book for the day. We're going to be reading On the Moon by Anna Milbourne and Benji Davies. This is, you guessed it, a book about astronauts going to the moon. The moon is very, very far away. What do you think it would be like to go there? A few people have been to the moon. Astronauts went there to see what it was like. If you went to the moon, you'd be an astronaut too. Do you ever pretend that you're an astronaut? Yeah. To get to the moon, you have to go in a huge rocket. Do you all want to help me count down? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift off! The astronauts sit in a tiny cabin at the very top. The rocket flies into space. Look, there it is, leaving the Earth, heading towards the moon. There's nothing but stars and darkness all around. It takes 4 whole days to reach the moon. Imagine being in your car for 4 days. Whew, that's a long time. When you get there, you climb into a little spaceship. It flies down and down and lands gently on the moon. To go outside, you have to put on a spacesuit. There's no air on the moon. Spacesuits carry air so you can breathe. I'll take a deep breath of air. Yeah, you want to be able to breathe, right? The moon is silent, empty, and dusty. There are huge mountains and big holes, but there are no trees or water, no animals or people. And let's take a look at these astronauts in their spacesuits. They've got a big pack on the back, and I bet that holds some of that air that they need, right? And they have boots and gloves and a helmet. And the spacesuit helps to keep them not too hot, not too cold, gives them air to breathe so that they can walk around and explore the moon. On the moon, you feel very light and floaty.
Daddy, do you remember this lunar?
When you walk around, you take big bouncing strides. You can jump really far, much further than you can at home. That sounds like it'd be pretty fun. Astronauts sometimes go exploring in moon buggies. Look at that moon buggy. That looks fun. Looks like it has an antenna so that it can communicate. They collect moon rocks to bring back home. They take photos to show people at home what the moon looks like. See, there's a camera for taking photos. Looks like a pretty big camera. This was a long time ago. Our cameras are a lot smaller now. In fact, they're usually just part of our phones, huh? And this one has a hammer so that he can collect some rocks from the moon. Astronauts put a flag on the moon to show they have been there. And that flag is still there. You can see our world from the moon. So when you look up into the sky from the moon, you can see the Earth. It looks tiny because it's so far away. When it's time to go, the astronauts blast off for home. the moon is left almost as it was before, apart from a flag and a buggy and some footprints in the dust. Do you think you will ever go to the moon? What do you think? I think that would be a pretty fun trip. Take a long time to get there though. So that's our book for today, all about what it would be like to visit the moon. Yeah. So now I want to show you some pictures of some astronauts. So I wonder, did anyone watch the space shuttle launch this weekend? We actually launched a shuttle into space just over the weekend, and these two astronauts got to go to space. And it had been a long time since we had done that in our country, so this was pretty exciting because it was the first time in quite a while that the United States was able to send some astronauts into space. So this was the big rocket, and this part on the end is the part that kept going. This is what it looks like.
SpaceX.
Yeah, that's right. This was a company called SpaceX, worked with NASA, which is the space agency here in the United States. They worked together in order to send those astronauts into space. And where were they going? Not to the moon, but to the International Space Station. And this is orbiting around the Earth. So it's not as far away as the moon. And this is a place where we can send astronauts to study stuff on the Earth and stuff in space and learn more about
Yes,
and space. And this is something where we cooperate with all different countries all over the world so that we can all learn together. So I have some pictures of some other astronauts just so you can take a look and see what their spacesuits look like. These were some astronauts that went to, they all got to go to the and you can see their spacesuits. There's their helmets, right? And they've got all kinds of patches on their suits, and you can see the helmets hook into this part around their necks. And of course, they would also be wearing gloves and boots if they had to go out into space, right? I thought I'd show you this astronaut. He, because last time we talked about sending pets into space. So he had his official picture taken with his dogs. His dogs didn't go into space with him though, but he loved his dogs so much that he got to take his picture with them. And then, oh, and his name is Leland Melvin. And then one more astronaut is Mae Jamison, and I wanted to show you her. Do you remember the first storybook we read, Breakfast Moon, and the main character is named Mae, and we actually named her after Mae Jamison. She was the first African-American woman to get to go into space. And then I thought we'd take a look at an astronaut all in a spacesuit. This is what they look like. And these are almost like one-person spaceships. They've got everything they need to keep that person alive so they're not too hot and not too cold, so that they can breathe, they can drink water. You can see there's the helmet, and it has a special coating that protects from the sun because there's no atmosphere to block some of the more harmful rays of the sun. And of course, gloves and boots, and they design the gloves so you're safe, but you can also do some work, like use some tools on the International Space Station. Looks like there's a camera up here. So all kinds of equipment. It's almost like a little spaceship that fits one person inside. So for today's activity, we want to make not a whole spacesuit. That's something maybe you can do on your own, but we thought we would make some space helmets, and we're going to do that, like I said, using some paper bags. So I'll show you what we're going to make. I have one already made. Here's mine that I decorated, and I'm going to stop and turn off the pictures for now, so it'll be just me. Here's my space helmet. It's a little bit noisy. So get out your paper bag and scissors and markers and stuff, and we can make one together. So you're gonna start with your paper bag. Whoops, I got mine. I'm gonna move it down. So here's your paper bag. The foldy part is here. That's gonna be the top, and the open part is down here. That's going to be the bottom. And you wanna, there's a couple things you wanna draw onto your paper bag. So this is the top with the foldy part. This is the bottom with the opening. All right. And we're going to draw on here. Whoops. Where we cut out for the shoulders, we're gonna do something like this on either side. So that's what I drew on the bottom, right? And then we're going to also draw on the top here, we're going to draw a rectangle for the opening for your face. So that looks like this. So this is what we've got. This is the top with the folded part, and this is the bottom where there's an opening. Looks like I drew those a little bit uneven, but that's okay. And then you're going to cut each of those a little bit differently. So I'm going to cut out the shoulder pieces. I'm going to cut all the way through the bag, like this. One. Here comes the other one.
Sometimes it's hard to cut through a big paper bag and lots of layers.
What's that, Teresa?
I said sometimes it's hard to cut through all those layers of paper bag.
Yeah.
So if you need some help, you can ask someone to help you.
To help you. So I cut off those pieces. That's where my shoulders will go. And now this part can be a little bit trickier when we cut out the face because we don't want to cut all the way through. We just want to cut through one layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hand inside the bag. I'm going to kind of fold over one layer so that I can make a snip through that layer of paper so that I can get my scissors in there. You see that? And then I'm going to cut out to the line and then cut around that rectangle so that I can make a hole for the face. Everyone cutting out your space helmet?
What I can do this? Wow, I want paper bag. Yes.
Now I've cut it out. You can see I just cut through this one layer, but not through the other layers. I open it up. A space helmet. And you can use markers and stickers to decorate it. I'm going to go back to showing you the pictures of some other kids who have done this. So here's some kids who made some space helmets. This was at a library where we read the same book, On the Moon, and made some space helmets, and they used stickers and markers to decorate. And then if you want, after you have your space helmet, you could even make other parts to a spacesuit. So this is an activity we did with some kids where we pretended we were going to the moon, and you can see we made some air packs out of plastic soda bottles. So you can just tape two of them together. You can use some string to make some straps so that you can strap it on like a backpack. And we wore, so for these boots, we were using sponges that we used rubber bands to attach to our feet so that it felt like we were kind of walking like astronauts. You could wear maybe some slippers that could be like your space boots, and we put on gloves. And what we did here is we put some pillows under a gray sheet.
Sometimes you could put some jackets.
Some what? We'll get some comments afterwards. So, and then you could pretend that you're walking around on the moon like those astronauts. So I would love if you all would, you know, work on your space helmets, decorate them. Maybe you want to make more spacesuits, and send me some photos. You've all been sending me photos of the projects you've been doing, and this is a fun one. All right, so I want to let you know what we're going to be doing next week. We're going to be reading this book called Emani's Moon. And this is about a girl who really wants to visit the moon, but the way she does it a little bit different than the way we did in the book this week. And that's written by Janae Brown Wood and illustrated by Hazel Mitchell. And that's a week from today, June 8th, at the same time, 11 o'clock here in California, and at different times other places in the country. You can sign up on our website. It's not up there yet, but it'll be up there soon. And make sure you're on our email list, and so you'll get an email about it. And you can send pictures of your space helmets to storytime@astrosociety.org. I really would love to see those pictures, and we will share those during next week's story time. All right, so that's our story time. Thanks for joining us.